Hello there, welcome to this special edition of Benson where we look back at my interview with the late great John Challis. I've even found my diaries here, there they are, the Benson diaries that I've kept. I've kept a diary since 2005 and I interviewed John for BCB Radio back in 2011. It went out, broadcast on October the 8th, but I found my diary from Monday, September the 26th. Listen to this. 9:25 p.m. Gutted. Absolutely gutted. Went to BCB to record my show for Saturday. Halfway through, I picked up the phone and interviewed John Challis, Boycie from Only Fools and Horses. The interview lasted about 20 minutes. I asked John about his early appearances on Only Fools and also asked him about work before Only Fools. I was really pleased with how it went. I asked good questions and John gave really good answers. We mentioned the book signings he's doing. I then said, Mum, if you're listening, make sure you get to the book signing at the Trafford Centre. John said, what's your mum's name? I said, Pat. John then said, in a Boycie accent, well, Pat, make sure you get down to the Trafford Centre. I won't try and do the accent. I finished recording the show. All the sound levels had seemed to be fine throughout, and then, as usual, I tried playing the show back. Nothing. No sound at all. I tried playing it on 3 computers. Nothing. I've emailed Boycie to ask if he'll do the interview again. I hope so. Anyway, the story does continue. Tuesday, October the 4th, 2011. I interviewed John Challis, Boycie again tonight at BCB. It nearly went all wrong again. The interview started, but I didn't put the microphones on. Luckily, I realised this about a minute into the interview. I did ask different questions, and it was good of John to come and do an interview with me again. So there you go. A happy ending, and I was able to say thanks to John in person when I met him after an evening with Boycie at City Varieties in Leeds in 2014. I should also mention that if you haven't got them already, these are definitely worth a look. Definitely worth getting hold of. Being Boycie, which is it's a wonderful, wonderful book, and there is his signature there. Thank you, and it's brilliant. Some great pictures in there as well. Self-published, very, very honest indeed. And the follow-up from 1985 onwards was Boycie Beyond. Definitely worth a look. Published by Wigmore Books, and then he did 2 fiction works as well. There was Reggie in the Frame and Reggie a Stag at Bay. Very, very good, and please do have a look at these. Definitely worth a look. They are really, really good. So the as I say, the autobiographies are wonderful, but these I think you really, really enjoy. So here is the interview that went out on the 8th of October 2011. I hope you enjoy it. John was absolutely wonderful, of course, throughout his career. Monty and Benny, Dawn, Boycie, of course, as we know, in Only Fools and Horses. And I think it's a testament. Like my dad was saying last weekend, he said, well, he was in every single episode. And I went, no, he wasn't. But that is such a strong character that he was, that you think he was. In fact, in the first 3 series of Only Fools and Horses, I think John was only in 4 episodes out of the first 23 episodes that were transmitted. But he's such a strong character. You'd have never realised that. Anyway, rest in peace, John. I do hope you enjoy the interview. And it also includes in this video a text interview that John did as well for a short-lived blog that I had called Sport on Freeview, where he asked some sport-based questions as well back in September 2014 before I met him at City Varieties in Leeds. Enjoy. Right now on the Saturday Superstore, we're going to treat you to a fantastic interview I did earlier in the week with John Challis. John Challis, of course, who plays Boycie in Only Fools and Horses. We did interview him last week, but we had a technical glitch. Oh, you wouldn't believe it. I was absolutely fuming. But here we go. John was really kind to do the interview once again, and he's got a brilliant book out. It's called Being Boycie. It's out now. It's $9.99 in paperback, courtesy of Wigmore Books. So here's John at the start of the interview.
The first part of my autobiography, or memoirs, or whatever the fashionable thing to call it is, I started this ages ago, really. People kept asking me how it all started, how I got to where I'm supposed to have got to, and And indeed, right at the beginning of what made you become an actor, So I started sort of writing stuff down, started recalling the childhood, and looking back, it was extraordinary because it seemed that it was in the stars, from the beginning. If I think back on my school and so on, I did no work whatsoever. And I was very good at impersonating the masters and mucking about and doing funny voices and playing my guitar, start of rock and roll, all that. And I was quite good at sport and so on. But I think in retrospect, I was always going to be an actor,
Always from an early age?
Yeah, I was in all the school plays, and it seemed the most natural thing in the world, really, to be on the stage. I don't know why. A lot of kids were terrified about it, and how could you get up there and do it, But it seemed the absolute natural area for me, really.
To get in?
To be up there.
Absolutely.
And I was actually delighted, really, when I could sort of become other people. I was fascinated by other people, even from a very, very early age when I was a kid. And my parents always told me off about sort of staring at people and copying them. I was always copying people. For some reason, I found it much more interesting to be somebody else than myself. And looking back on that, I think the die was cast very, very early for some reason.
You mentioned kind of you as like impressions and things like from an early age. Who were some of the early impressions that you did of perhaps famous people?
One of my first big influences was the Goon Show.
Fantastic!
Milligan and so on.
Yeah.
And I loved all that madness. So I could become Blue-Butthole very easily. And I could become not only Blue-Butthole, but I could become Blue-Butthole talking to echoes, and I used to have that over.
It still has a fantastic following, doesn't it, though?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It really does.
But I was amazed. And one of my early heroes was James Stewart, the very famous film star, and I found that I could always impersonate his voice. I just sort of came very easily for some reason. But it was not only voices, but it was noises. It was cars screaming brakes I'd hear, and I'd do that on top of a bus, and everyone would look round in panic. And my mother would tell me off, and but I don't know. It was just always part of my life, for very early.
Fantastic. And so, of course, this first book, Being Boycie, it takes us up to 1985. And
1985, yes, and that's a long time ago. I know. Originally, I was going to try and cram it all into one book, but I suddenly realised that if I did all that, it was going to look like War and Peace, and pretty intimidating. So I thought, well, to be honest, I couldn't finish it. I had so much coming out, so many stories and so on, and so I thought, well, because it's the 30th anniversary of Only Fools and Horses this year, and I just thought I've got to stop somewhere. So I thought I'd stop where Marlene came into Only Fools and Horses.
Do you know which?
There's so much more out there, and so this time next year we'll be looking at part 2. Hopefully, right up to the present day. I mean, that's the idea, anyway.
You mentioned Only Fools, and of course, it's a big anniversary, 30 years, like you say, and there's a big push on that. I was watching the last 3 episodes, which I hadn't seen since they were originally broadcast. They were repeated last week on Gold, and I really enjoyed watching them again, especially the second one of those, Strangers on the Shore, and where of course there's the story where you end up staying at Del Boy's, isn't there?
Oh yes, that awful moment for poor Boycie, and the nightmare comes through, and he suddenly finds himself at Nelson Mandela Mansions, and
Absolutely.
I remember talking to John Sullivan about it, and he had this idea, and he said I'd really love to see that snob in that, and I mean he really, I think in a lot of ways he really disliked what Boycie stood for, although he loved the character and he kept writing for it. Obviously, I mean Boycie became this sort of anti-hero in a lot of ways, and in some terms, the sort of character that Del Boy looked up to and was aspired to become something like Boycie, because Boycie always had money. You never quite knew how, but But he got his money by sort of nefarious activities, and the fact that Marlene had thrown him out again, he had nowhere to go. Through a chapter of accidents, he actually couldn't find a hotel or anything, and he finished up at Nelson Mandela Mansions, and of course ran up against an illegal immigrant.
Absolutely, yeah.
By accident, and I mean he was there by accident. I mean it was just a wonderful plot.
It really was. Now when I got into Only Fools, I mean I love every episode, but the first one I watched was a video I bought, and it was the Jolly Boys outing. Now you lot seem to have so much fun filming that. Was that the case?
Well, it certainly was. Yeah, we were all together. We were sitting on a coach, you know, and it's like sort of reality catches up with fiction, you know, and it was just like we, as a cast of Only Fools, you know, and associated chums, we're all going on a jolly down to Margate.
Yeah.
And so it didn't take a lot of acting, I have to say. You know, we were having a great time, and I mean, there was so much of that episode on the cutting room floor. I can't tell you. We had such a good time at the fairground. We went on all the rides several times, and I remember Kenny MacDonald was ill. He talked a good game. I mean, he actually couldn't take it, you know. But there wasn't so much of that in that episode. I don't know why that was. But we had such a silly time on the rides and so on. But just generally, you know, down there in Margate, we had a great time with the people there, and we stayed in the hotel, and you know, if you had a day off the next day, it was like the England rugby team. You know, we went out and had a jolly good time. I remember that, and being on the beach and running up and down to the
absolutely.
It was just. It's just a fantastic show. Yeah.
And of course, that was a Christmas special. I remember Eddie Braben talking about, obviously, the Morecambe and Wise Christmas special. And he said people judged the Christmas on how good Morecambe and Wise was. And Only Fools followed that, didn't it, from Eric and Ernie? When Eric and Ernie left the BBC, it was kind of Only Fools and Horses stepped in, wasn't it? And people, you know, every year people expected a better and better Christmas special, didn't they?
I think they did, yeah. People had organised their Christmases around it.
Yeah.
And things had stopped, and the whole family had sort of clustered around and watched the latest offering from John Sullivan. And I was in several cases, you know, I was somewhere else at Christmas. I was doing a pantomime or something silly, and I find myself watching it with an entirely different family, which is slightly embarrassing, you know, because you're suddenly watching yourself on the telly, and of course they can't believe that they're watching you on the telly, and there you are sitting there, you know, having a glass of wine with them. It's a very strange thing.
Hey, now it's plug time, John. You've got some fantastic book signings coming up. Yeah. Tell us more.
Well, yes. I mean, I've got so many book signings. I'm going to be in Sheffield on the 13th of October, for instance, at Waterstones. These are all at Waterstones, an Orchard Street, Sheffield.
Brilliant.
1 p.m. 13th of October. I'm going to be in Manchester on the 4th of November.
Yep.
That's a bit of a long way ahead. That's the Arndale Centre, 12 till 2. And then I'm doing another one in Manchester. I'm so big in Manchester, I've got to do 2.
Oh, fantastic.
So from 4 p.m. in Manchester, I'm going to be at the Trafford Centre. So that's 12 o'clock till 2 at the Arndale Centre and 4 o'clock at the Trafford Centre. So I'm looking forward to those, I must say.
That is fantastic. And, of course, like you say, people can buy the book on the day and just get in the queue.
Oh, sure, yeah. And, you know, we can have a chat, and I can give them a signature and so on. And I can promise them a good read, I have to say. And it's under a tenner. That's another good thing about it.
You can't argue with that.
You can't fail, can you? You know what I mean?
It really can't.
I mean, you'd be silly not to, wouldn't you?
It really can. Absolutely. It is an ideal Christmas present, and, you know, ideal birthday present for you might even.
I'm a bit like Del Boy here, aren't I? Trying to.
There is nothing wrong with that.
Goods down the market, you know, from a suitcase or something, but.
Exactly.
But no, it'll be great to see everybody. So if anybody's around, do come and say hello and.
Absolutely. I mean, they're all around the country anyway, aren't they? I mean, like you say, Waterstones is the main place where you're doing them through. Is there another?
Yes. I mean, Waterstones have been very interested in selling the book, and so I'll be doing lots of stuff for them all over the place and up and down the country. I've done a couple really near where I live in Herefordshire, and they seem to have gone very well. People are very interested in it, and I was talking to the guys in Tesco's today, and hopefully it'll be there as well.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Christmas. So,
and for those
so
21st...
buy a beef burger, a couple of bottles of beer, and by being Boycie, and I mean, you've got a wonderful evening ahead of you, you know.
That's all you need, isn't it? That is all you need on a winter's evening.
That's all you need in life, really.
Absolutely. Now, of course, for us, those 21st century readers out there, it's going to be out on Kindle soon as well, isn't it?
Oh, sure, yes. I'm being very old, of course. I'm not really very good at all the modern technology, so I'm learning a lot about the internet, and we got a website coming up, and we've got a bit of Facebooking and possibly Twittering as well.
Really?
I never thought I'd say this, but this may be happening.
You're braver than I am.
Yeah, but I mean, yes, I need a little help with all this stuff, you know, as I say, because it doesn't come naturally to me at all. But so no, there'll be a few surprises on the website. I think, you know, there's a Boycie mug coming out. You know, being Boycie, it says.
Oh, brilliant!
On it, so there's a couple of versions of that. So if people sort of want to get onto the website when it comes up, it's not quite out, not quite ready yet. We're still working on it, but do have a look at it, because there'll be a lot of nice stuff on there.
So, of course, like we were saying, Only Fools started in '81, and you appeared in the second episode. Then you appeared in an episode in the second series. But like you say, just gradually, your character just became more and more involved, didn't it? Yes,
it did. Yes, and by the time we come to the end of the book, it's about 85 or something. So we've done. What's that? About 4 series, and this was about the time it really started to lift off, you know. But up until then, I suppose I'd done possibly four episodes, and I may be wrong there. I'm not quite sure, but it was 4 or maybe 5 episodes. So that's all. I mean, up to there. So it was quite new, it was quite fresh, and although I thought it was a funny series, I had no idea that it'd be going on and on and on, you know. And here we are talking about it 30 years later, and it's all over UK Gold and so on.
Absolutely.
And of course, I get asked to do a spin-off series, The Green Grass, with Marlene as well.
Yes.
It's extraordinary, because looking back on those days, you just thought you were lucky to be, you know, in a series that was ongoing, and your character had caught on, and so you were coming back to do an episode now and again. But what it grew into is just extraordinary. So that's all going to be in the next book next year. Now,
I don't know if it's kind of at the end of the first volume or at the beginning of the second, but of course 1985 you was one of the main characters in the Christmas special that year to Hull and Back, wasn't you? And there was a big ratings war, weren't there, against Minder on ITV, if I remember correctly, because they had a big special.
I think we blew them out of the water.
You did?
Actually, I don't know. I remember this. I remember this being talked about.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the figures were, but
you annihilated them.
Oh, we did we?
Absolutely. It was some stupid ratio, but you really did trounce on them. Yeah.
No, Minder was very popular, and you know, George Cole and Dennis Water did very well with that. I remember, and I seem to remember everyone's going, "Oh God, I hope we do all right," you know. With this, but we seem to do it, and it sort of grew from there. And I think it was from about that time that it started to really move and get very popular indeed.
Absolutely.
So very lucky.
Brilliant, and it sounds a fantastic read, and like I said last week, I am sending my mum down on that Friday at the Trafford Centre, so Mum, if you're listening, get down there, and you know what to get me for Christmas, don't you? Absolutely.
Oh, that'd be great. Look forward to meeting her.
Yeah, no, I've warned her, Pat Benson, if she's listening, you will be, Mum. You've got to make sure you get down there on the 4th of November. I've told her to finish work early that day.
Yeah.
But John, seriously, thank you very much for coming on BCB, and
great pleasure.
Being Boycie, it's called, and we'll look out for this volume and also the second volume next year.
Fantastic.
Best of luck. Thanks, John.
Cheers. Bye now. Bye.